you mentioned about how a lot of this book is about you, your dad, your upbringing, more than just talking about the World Series. But you just finished calling a historic World Series. There have been praise heaped upon John Smoltz, who you worked with. How do you think you did in the World Series?
I thought, I was happy. I walked away. I believe that sitting in that chair is one of the hottest seats in sports broadcasting, and it's that way for one real reason, which is, I've done it long enough now. That was my 19th. That I've done a lot of different fan bases that have been in World Series, and for every winner there have been 19 losers. And people think when you're yelling for the other side, as opposed to their hometown announcers all year, that you're rooting against their team. So it can be a lonely spot, let's say, in sports broadcasting. I'm not expecting any sympathy. I'm thankful that I have that job, and there's nothing I'd take back. We're on, even in Game 7, 4.5 hours, and a whole franchise history and future is hanging on pitch to pitch by the time we get to the 10th inning. John was great, and I think John and I did the job we hoped to do. And beyond that, that's all I can go on. And, there's no scoreboard for us, but there's nothing I regret saying, so that's a good thing.
No, nor should there be. I actually think, the analyst calling games in me thinks when people heap praise upon John Smoltz, it's actually, unbeknownst maybe to them, heaping praise upon you, because you not only gave him enough space and you teed him up in the right way for a guy who, let's be honest, John Smoltz is not particularly experienced to sound as good as he did. That shows just how good a job you did. Is that fair?
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I'm not going to toot my own horn.
I'll toot it for you. I actually think, look, when I do a game, if I do it really, really well, I know that a great reason I did well is because I got a good play-by-play guy with me. Otherwise, it doesn't work, and it clearly worked.
Yeah, well, he's worked with other people. It's not like this was the first time he's ever been on the air. So I'm proud of that, and I'm proud of him. I think the fact that he's been standing out there on the mound with a baseball in his hand for a Game 7 and knows that pressure allowed him to handle this to where he wasn't going 100 miles an hour. He took his time, and he did his work. I mean, trust me. He got ready for every game like he was going to pitch to the Cubs and pitch to the Indians, and that's how he goes about his analysis, and I loved it. I think he's fantastic, and I could not be more proud of somebody to step in on that stage, first time, Cubs, Indians, Game 7, and deliver what he delivered. He was great. And we had fun. We enjoyed being there.
Joe, I'll just tell you, as a viewer, that's the best called World Series in my lifetime. That's how it was. It was, in fact, that good. So that's me giving you as big a supreme compliment, and not because you're on with us, but because that's how I felt watching it. I couldn't wait to hear what you guys had to say about the games we were all gripped to watch.
Well, that means a lot, so thank you.
Joe Buck joining us on the Doug Gottlieb Show on CBS Sports Radio. His new book is called Lucky Bastard. You talked about how this book is about you, who you are. You famously had the HBO show that was canceled, and recently HBO has chosen to cancel Bill Simmons' show. Chris Collinsworth, who, of course, calls games for NBC, took a shot at him after Simmons went after him on Twitter. And somehow we've gotten to this place to where, Simmons is supposed to feel bad because he had a show canceled. I'm just wondering, for you personally, you pour a lot into everything you do. How do you view having a show on HBO, putting so much of yourself into it, and the challenge of it, then having it canceled and having people, make fun of it or whatever? Not necessarily yours, but more Simmons. How do you handle that?
Well, I think my experience was a little bit different in that I was doing them. He's doing them every week, and I would have loved that opportunity to try to find something with a little regularity that we could settle into. But we were doing them every, 3 or 4 months, and they were live, and we all know or some know the whole Artie Lang experience, which I detail in that book. But I can see how, at the end of the list, the most important word on the list is it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing to think, and I don't know Bill Simmons at all, so I'm not talking about him specifically, but I would imagine he felt like I did, which is, I can't speak to ratings. At the time, HBO didn't talk ratings, which really ticked me off because our numbers were good, and I really wanted to talk about the ratings. But you feel like I'm doing everything I can. I'm sticking my chin out, and it's getting whacked. And that's not a good feeling because you go from covering other people's events, whether it's me calling a World Series or Super Bowl, now it's your event, and somebody tells you, yeah, thanks for playing, goodbye. It's embarrassing more than anything else. I would love to have a beer with Bill and talk about his experience at HBO. I would imagine it's not unlike mine. You pick up and move on, and you be thankful that you got the chance. You learn from it, and when the chance comes again, you try and be better. I mean, that's all you can do.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of look at it as like you guys had huge shows, other people didn't, and most of the people making comments about your huge shows being canceled never had that opportunity. It just reeks of jealousy more than anything. I don't necessarily know. And hey, look, I had a show on CBS Sports Network that they chose to cancel. I did feel a little, I'm not going to lie, there's some embarrassment to it, but you try and get the perspective of like, dude, that was your show was a huge show. And what brought it down was really not your doing, I think most people believe. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I can. Again, I was frustrated more than anything because I felt like we never got a chance to settle in. And if you watched Jimmy Fallon for the first couple of weeks, that was a rough show to watch. Just because his interviewing, he had to settle in. He had to figure out how to do it. He had to find his voice. And same for Letterman, and same for. And I'm not comparing myself to them, but I just mean the reps let you find what works and what doesn't. And I just never got the chance to get the reps because it was only a quarterly show. But, yeah, frustrated and embarrassed are probably the two words that come to mind.